Welcome back, warrior. We are on Mosiah chapter 10. And yesterday, we started reading the account that Zenith left after they left Zarahemla. And so we're still in that. And I'm just trying to get my page. And did you learn that my phone has broken its little thingamajigger so in the back, and so it makes it really impossible to figure out how to set this up. Let's see if I can go the other way. Hold on. Oh, I think I have a makeshift solution. Oh man, honestly. Here we go. We're gonna read. My redheaded hostess is not pulling up correctly. There we go. Okay, chapter 10, it says, King Laman dies. His people are wild and ferocious and believe in false traditions. Zenith and his people prevail against them. All right. Yesterday we read 9, and it was amazing. There were 19 verses. Today, we also have 22 verses. Remember, around 20 verses is my amazing, that's just what I like for each chapter. If we could just keep it there. All right. Okay. And it came to pass that we again began to establish the kingdom, and we again began to possess the land in peace. And I caused that there should be weapons of war made of every kind, that thereby I might have weapons for my people against the time the Lamanites should come up again to war against my people. This is smart, right? Everybody. Why do you prepare when you're not being attacked? So that you'll be ready when you are attacked. It's not if, it's when, right? And so that's something that we can all kind of take and apply into our lives. We have to do the dailies so that we are prepared when Satan comes to attack us. And we are not vulnerable. We're not caught vulnerable, right? And then we lose our battle because we weren't strong. And why weren't we strong? Because we didn't do it on a daily basis, right? Like your muscles, it's like your muscles. If you don't work out, the muscles kind of go away. But if you do, you stay strong. So it's like that. And sure, you might need a rest day, but let's be honest. Are the people that are super strong, do those people take rest days? Yeah, but on their rest days, are they still doing things that are active with their body and keeping their body moving? Yeah, they're not resting idle. Okay, they're just using their muscles in a different way. So I know there's a couple peeps who I follow. They're my rest day. On my rest day, this is what I do. And then they run or they walk. And then they stay active. They'll rollerblade or play pickleball or, those things. And then on the every other day, they're hitting the weights and doing those things. So we're never really supposed to be idle, because then our muscles atrophy, mean that they go away. Okay. And that's the same thing that our spirit's going to do. Okay. Our spirit is not going to just continue to grow if we don't exercise it. Okay. Verse 2, and I set guards round about the land, that the Lamanites might not come upon us again unawares and destroy us. And thus I did guard my people and my flocks and keep them from falling into the hands of our enemies. Okay. So we need guards. Who are our guards, right? Something that I like to think about are our guardians. That's what they say at school, right? They call the kids parents or grandparents or aunts and uncles. They call them guardians. And it's because it's a powerful term. If you think about it, what are guardians? Who are guardians? When I think of a guardian, I don't think of a weak person. I think of strong people being guards, peeps that know what's up, and that are looking out. And so when I'm thinking of guards, I'm like, okay, well, who could be my guards, right? And it says, and I set guards round about the land. And so, like, how are we setting up our guards? Who are our guards? And do they know that there are guards, right? I feel like it's important for us to tell our guardians that, hey, you know what? I trust you, and I want you to tell me when you see something, say something, like a parent, like, wouldn't that be the coolest thing if you told your parent, no joke, if you were like, hey, mom, I'm trying to set my guards round about the land. And so can you be one of my guards? And if you notice anything or anyone trying to come up and destroy us, then will you warn me and let me know? Like, as if your mom's going to be all like, no. I'd be like, what? You want me to do this? That's awesome. And like, what kind of responsibility would that person feel now over you? Right. And it's like, awesome that you could even do that. Now I'm just saying that because I don't even know if I could ask my mom that. Like, could I do that? Like naturally she will be my guard and she'll tell me what to do, regardless of whether I asked her or not. But am I going to ask her is the question. I don't know. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. For now, we'll just let her be one of my secret spies. That she doesn't know she's my secret spy, but that I know she's my secret spy. Gonna tell me about other things coming into our land. Anyway, verse 3. And it came to pass that we did inherit the land of our fathers for many years, yea, for the space of 22 years. And I did cause that the men should till the ground and raise all manner of grain and all manner of fruit of every kind. And I did cause that the women should spin and toil and work all manner of fine linen, yea, and cloth of every kind, that we might clothe our nakedness. And thus we did prosper in the land. Thus we did have continual peace in the land for the space of 22 years. That's a long time. Like, my kids aren't even 22. So imagine just having this much peace, right? I mean, I feel like we do live in peace, even though in the world around us, it's chaos. But I think as far as spiritual peace, I think that we do not live in that. So, and I think that's why it's so important for us to continue to read the Book of Mormon. I think, like, they were always in war. And we're always in spiritual warfare. Like, it's just like an everyday thing. Like, yesterday I got I got an attack really bad. And it was just lack of communication and on my part, and like, just, I don't even know how to explain it without getting into it, but I don't really want to get into it, if that makes sense. So I guess we'll just leave it at that. But just know that sometimes there are those things, those battles that you fight. And if you don't bring your spouse into the battle that you're fighting, they won't know that you need their help, And so if you can communicate the battle that you are experiencing in a way that's, I don't want to say like, just like in a way that is able to communicate your own feelings, then, like, in a safe way. I don't know how to explain that, but then they can show up. Like, you will give them the opportunity to show up for you if they're able to, and they can help you. And if they can't, then that's fine too. But at least you're giving them the opportunity to show up and to try to show up for you in that way. So yeah, I'm sorry that that's not more specific. It's very vague. But at least when I go over these videos later on, I'll remember, right? Maybe, who knows? Okay. And then it said, consider how much their Nephite society would have grown during that time. They experienced peace, but they were still in the land of Nephi, which means they were still living close to those who desired their destruction. So Zeniff had weapons of war made of every kind, so they would be prepared for any future attack. Okay, 6-11. Ooh. And it came to pass that King Laman died, and his son began to reign in his stead. Mm-hmm. And he began to stir his people up in rebellion against my people. What? Like, what? Like, why? Therefore, they began to prepare for war and to come up to battle against my people. But I had sent my spies out round about the land of Shemlon, that I might discover their preparations, that I might guard against them, that they might not come up upon my people and destroy them. And it came to pass that they came up upon the north of the land of Shilom with their numerous hosts, men armed with bows and with arrows and with swords and with scimitars and with stones and with slings. And they had their heads shaved, that they were naked, and they were girded with a leathern girdle about their loins. Okay. First of all, if you're going to go into battle or run at all, and you're a guy, please wear more than a leathern girdle about your loins. Do everyone a favor, okay? And it came to pass that I caused that the women and children of my people should be hid in the wilderness. And because let's be honest, nobody should even see that vision at all whatsoever. Anyway, I got a message from my son. Being a parent is hard, okay? All right. And it came to... Yes. Parenting is hard, okay? And it came to pass that I caused that the women and children of my people, should be hid in the wilderness. I also caused that all my old men that could bear arms, and also all my young men that were able to bear arms, should gather themselves together to go to battle against the Lamanites. And I did place them in their ranks, every man according to his age. Nice. Now, you might be thinking, if you're a female, how come we don't get to go to battle? It's great, okay, that we want to fight and that we want to show that we're strong and whatever, okay? But I think they were wise to keep the women and children safe. Why? Because if a mother dies and she still has little children, like, how's she going to nurse those kids and how's she going to do those things, right? Also, how would their civilization and their customs and their language and their way and their faith continue on without women? So it wasn't just that they were like probably thinking, we can't use women because they're not strong. It's not about that. It's about, I believe, what I mentioned, just preserving life and preserving the ability to be able to procreate and create more life, and the ability to do that. And the men, like, first of all, I don't know if you know this about guys, but they love playing video games and feeling super accomplished when they're in battle. False sense of accomplishment playing video games. You should see our kids when they have killed some peeps. They're so excited. They get so into it. I hear yells, screams. It's like as if they're in legit real battles. And I have to like come downstairs sometimes and be like, what's going on? Like, are you guys okay? And they're just playing video games. And I'm like, okay. So it is something that is innate in them that they need to just go to battle, like, all the time. And so I think it makes them feel good to protect the females and the women in their lives. Like, we went camping and hiking, and my 15-year-old, I'd never seen him so protective of me. Like, I could barely do anything. He was like, no, Mom, you can't go there. It's too dangerous. And like, he'd be like, Mom, let me help you. I'm like, what? Who is this? Like, who is this child that you all of a sudden, like, why are you protecting me? Dude, if I die right here, I won't have to make you do. Hello. Did you see Grandma's here?
Who's this for?
Oh, that looks so fun. What is it? Ay, Shiomai. Say, I haven't seen you in so long. Sure. Whoa. What color is that?
Pink?
It's a pink sweater.
It's a shirt. It's a pink shirt. What's on it?
A cow.
It's like a cow. No, it's a llama. Can you say llama?
Llama. But it's fun.
He looks like he's wearing a fun, or she looks like she's wearing a fun sweater. Huh? Yeah.
And his thumbs up.
She's thumbsing up. Yep.
You like it?
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
say
so
thanks to
good.
Grandma. Go give her hugs.
Oh. Oh. I miss you so much.
Oh, yo, yo. Oh, yo, yo. Oh, sure.
Want to play with me?
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I'll play with you for a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. What are we playing? Are you gonna feed me?
Okay, I'm gonna keep walking.
Yeah,
Okay, because I gotta get going with Flora soon. Right, Shumai? Right, Shumai. Oh, yes. We're gonna go to lunch with Alessandra. Do some work. And airborne. And then airborne. Let's see here. Uh-oh. I think I accidentally paused it. Okay, so I messed up a little bit, but we're hopefully knowing where we're at. Okay, so verse 10, and it came to pass that we did go up to battle against the Lamanites, and I even in my old age did go up to battle against the Lamanites. And it came to pass that we did go up in the strength of the Lord to battle. Now the Lamanites knew nothing concerning the Lord, nor the strength of the Lord. Therefore they depended upon their own strength. Yet they were a strong people as to the strength of men. Better get ready. Okay, King Laman died, which means there was, so this is the commentary here from Reddit Host. It says, King Laman died, which means there was a new Lamanite king, and he stirred up his people to rebel against the Nephites. Even after so many years of peace, Zeniff had not grown pacified, and he had spies watching and reporting to the movement of the Lamanite army. In verse 8, the spies reported that the Lamanite army was coming north of the land of Shilom with numerous hosts and many weapons. Okay, so he's coming, bringing his whole team. And in verse 9, we can see Zeniff's battle plan, which was likely already thought through. Imagine how many possible attack scenarios Zeniff and his counselors would have thought through. Zeniff sent off the women and children, armed every man that could bear a weapon, gathered them and organized them into ranks. Then they went to battle, and even Zeniff went forth to fight. But it was not man against man or weapon against weapon. Zeniff again explains that they went forth in the strength of the Lord to battle, a thing which the Lamanites could not do because they knew nothing concerning the Lord, nor the strength of the Lord. Therefore, they depended upon their own strength. Because Zeniff and his people had been taught of Christ, they could turn to him for strength, which is greater than any weapon could be. Okay, so just let's remember that they left the land of Zarahemla, and that was the land that the Lord was trying to get them to stay in. But even though they left, they were still like, the Lord was still helping them because they were reaching up and they still had faith in Christ, and they still were doing those things that brought them closer to Christ. And so, of course, Christ is still going to help them, even though, you know, the Lord wanted them to live in Zarahemla. So I think it's important to note that, like, the Lord's going to help us. As long as we reach out to him, he's always going to help us, even if he knew we were supposed to be somewhere else. You know what I mean? Okay, and then Elder David A. Bednar explained this. He says, not only does the atonement of Jesus Christ overcome the effects of the fall of Adam and make possible the remission of our individual sins and transgressions, but his atonement also enables us to do good and become better in ways that stretch far beyond our mortal capacities. Most of us know that when we do things wrong and need help to overcome the effects of sin in our lives, the Savior has made it possible for us to become clean through his redeeming power. But do we also understand that the atonement is for faithful men and women who are obedient, worthy, and conscientious, and who are striving to become better and serve more faithfully. I wonder if we fail to fully acknowledge this strengthening aspect of the atonement in our lives and mistakenly believe we must carry our load all alone through sheer grit, willpower, and discipline, and with our obviously limited capacities, end quote. Ooh, that's good. Elder David A. Bednar, April 2014 General Conference. I actually love that because sometimes it's true. Like we go from day to day, we think, oh, we're doing all this stuff alone. But if we could just take like a minute to bring the Lord into our decisions, it will make things so much easier. So this morning I went to the temple so that I could make that decision about the snow cone shack that we're thinking about going with. And we had a deadline from the guy who was trying to sell it, because he's like, if you guys don't buy it, then I'm going to need to put it up and start, selling snow cones because the season's coming, even though it's like literally snowing yesterday. And I was like, oh no, we have to decide so soon, and this was like, I can't remember. It was Friday. We were getting all excited about this. And then I was like, okay, let's go see it on Monday. And then everything. And then it feels so rushed. And anyway, I went to the temple and I was like, thinking like, what do I need to do? But I didn't get like a yes or like a no on doing it. But I did get a solid, like, we don't have to rush into stuff. And if this guy needs to move forward with whatever he needs to do, then that's great, because the shacks that he was selling didn't include the machines. And so like the machine itself is like really pricey. So including the machine and the cost is actually really helpful. But if we have to buy our own machine, then it's like, well, maybe it's not such a great deal. And technically we probably want to build our own anyway, because we have like this thing that we want to do with it that's different. And so I was like, yeah, we'll go with something else. So anyway, we talked to my biz partner, and she was like, okay, I think that's a great idea, and she kind of backed me up on that. And I was like, see, like, I think when we go to the temple and we put the Lord first in our decisions, he can help us feel at peace with those choices that we make, even if he didn't give us like a yes or a no, but he can help us in like, as we're moving forward, to know if that is the correct path to take. And so, yeah. So, and with any adventure, with business adventure, it's like you have to counsel with all your peeps, right? And so I also was trying to counsel with Clark on trying to decide what to do, but time was not on our side yesterday. And so we were like, couldn't ever get to actually talking about stuff. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna have to maybe make a choice on my own, which totally fully capable of doing that. But I'm glad that I went to the temple this morning, because the choice was a little bit easier to make that way because I involved the Lord. Okay, we have verse 12. Let's see, we're going to go 12 and 13. It says, they were a wild and ferocious and a bloodthirsty people, believing in the tradition of their fathers, which is this, believing that they were driven out of the land of Jerusalem because of the iniquities of their fathers, and that they were wronged in the wilderness by their brethren, and that they were also wronged while crossing the sea. So this is like why the Lamanites hated the Nephites. And again, that they were wronged while in the land of their first inheritance after they had crossed the sea, and all this because that Nephi was more faithful in keeping the commandments of the Lord. Therefore he was favored of the Lord, for the Lord heard his prayers and answered them, and he took the lead of their journey in the wilderness. If you're going to live in victim mode all the time, you're going to always need somebody to blame, need somebody to hate, need somebody to keep you stuck, right? And that is what the Lamanites were doing. And that's another reason why they lashed out all the time, right? They're like, we don't know what to do with ourselves. Well, we better blame them because they wronged us. Well, like, that was how many years ago from Jerusalem? And then this is what the redheaded hostess says. Zeneph writes why the Lamanites held such a hatred toward the Nephites. And we can see that Laman and Lemuel's hatred toward Nephi had an effect on hundreds of years of generations to follow them. They were not taught about the hand of the Lord that brought them to the promised land, but were instead taught how they had been wronged. Like, that's not a good way to pass things down, right? Hey, let me tell you how we were offended so you can be offended too. Like, that doesn't seem right. Okay, and then let's see, we're going to go to 14 to 22. Like, you're not doing your kids a favor, Okay, to teach them to be victims. Okay, verse 14. And his brethren were wroth with him because they understood not the dealings of the Lord. They were also wroth with him about the waters because they hardened their hearts against the Lord. And again, they were wroth with him when they had arrived in the promised land because they said that he had taken the ruling of the people out of their hands and they sought to kill him. And again, they were wroth with him because he departed into the wilderness as the Lord had commanded him and took the records which were engraven upon the plates of brass, for they said that he robbed them. That's just crazy. Because of course they were the ones that were attacking Nephi, and of course Nephi's going to leave. He can't just stay being abused. He stayed long enough being abused, and so the Lord finally removed him. So I'm like glad that he did, because I would have been disappointed in him if he hadn't left. Right? That just makes sense. Like, don't be in an abusive relationship like that. That's not what the Lord wants for you. Okay, and thus they have taught their children that they should hate them and that they should murder them and that they should rob and plunder them and do all they could to destroy them. Therefore, they have an eternal hatred towards the children of Nephi. Here's the thing. This is Satan, of course, Satan's work. But it's like our anger does not need to be toward other human beings, other children of God. Our hatred needs to be put toward Satan, because that is who's messing with our lives, not other people. They're just trying, like, everybody's just trying to live their best life, and nobody's actually trying to like hurt other people on purpose, except for those like little few people who really are following Satan and somehow are oblivious to the fact that they are hurting people. But you see what I'm saying? Like, they don't know that they're hurting people on purpose. Anyway, verse 18. For this very cause has King Laman, I have like an itch on my thigh. Okay. For this very cause has King Laman by his cunning and lying craftiness and his fair promises deceived me, that I have brought my people up into this land, that they may destroy them. Yea, and we have suffered these many years in the land. And now I, Zeniff, after having told all these things unto my people concerning the Lamanites, I did stimulate them to go to battle with their might, putting their trust in the Lord. Therefore we did contend with them face to face. And it came to pass that we did drive them again out of our land, and we slew them with a great slaughter, even so many that we did not number them. And it came to pass that we returned again to our own land, and my people again began to tend their flocks and to till their ground. And now I, being old, did confer the kingdom upon one of my sons. Therefore I say no more. And may the Lord bless my people. Amen. So let's see what it says here. 14 to 22. Zeniff explains what the truth is versus what the Lamanites believe the truth is. And that what has been passed down among the Lamanites has caused an eternal hatred towards the Nephites. It is this very hatred that was behind King Laman's cunning plan to enslave the Nephites to them. When Zeniff explained these things to the Nephites, whom he had armed and prepared for battle, it inspired the Nephites to go forth, putting their trust in the Lord, and they again had a great victory over the Lamanites. Elder David A. Bednar gave a talk about the long-lasting effects that taking offense can have. Ooh, I remember this talk. In fact, I sometimes reference it when people are like, I'm going to be offended. I'm like, I should send you that talk about being offended. Like, don't be offended. Like, it's a choice that you make. And says, just like it did to this entire nation of Lamanites. He explained that when he was a stake president, he would contact the bishops and ask them to prayerfully identify members of their ward they could visit. He explained that when he visited members who had stopped coming to church, he would ask them to explain why they had stopped coming. Elder Bednar explained this. Quote, and at some point early in our conversation, I often would ask a question like this. Will you please help us understand why you are not actively participating in the blessings and programs of the church? I made hundreds and hundreds of such visits. Each individual, each family, each home, and each answer was different. Over the years, however, I detected a common theme in many of the answers to my questions. Frequently, responses like these were given. Several years ago, a man said something in Sunday school that offended me, and I have not been back since. No one in this branch greeted greeted or reached out to me, I felt like an outsider. I was hurt by the unfriendliness of this branch. I did not agree with the counsel the bishop gave me. I will not step foot in that building again as long as he is serving in that position. Many other causes of offense were cited, from doctrinal differences among adults to taunting, teasing, and excluding by youth. But the recurring theme was, I was offended by. The bishop and I would listen intently and sincerely. One of us might then ask about their conversion to and testimony of the restored gospel. As we talked, eyes often were moist with tears as these good people recalled the confirming witness of the Holy Ghost and described their prior spiritual experiences. Most of the less active people I have ever visited had a discernible and tender testimony of the truthfulness of the restored gospel. However, they were not presently participating in church activities and meetings. And then I would say something like this: let me make sure I understand what has happened to you. Because someone at church offended you, you have not been blessed by the ordinance of the sacrament. You have withdrawn yourself from the constant companionship of the Holy Ghost. Because someone at church offended you, you have cut yourself off from priesthood ordinances and the holy temple. You have discontinued your opportunity to serve others and to learn and grow. And you are leaving barriers that will impede the spiritual progress of your children, your children's children, and the generations that will follow. Many times people would think for a moment and then respond, I've never thought about it that way, end quote. That's because Satan tricks us. He never reminds us that those are all the things that we're putting on the table or that we're leaving on the table when we choose to be offended. Okay, that was Elder David A. Bednar, October 2006 General Conference. Okay, so that is it for today. And we're going to read the Read It, Live It for chapter 10. Oh, here we go. It's this one. Okay, and it says, Zenith gives us a definition of what it means to be favored of the Lord. To be favored means he hears your prayers, answers them, and takes the lead of your journey. Try these two things. 1, pray, and 2, let him take the lead. Ooh, I love that. And it reminds me of that talk from President Nelson, the Let God Prevail talk. That is the best. All right, until tomorrow, stay strong, warrior.